Hey, welcome back to another episode of Realty Resilience. My name is Dave Nations, the host of the podcast, and I'm really excited about our guest today, Kerry Ellison. Kerry, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to have you on today. Kerry and I have known each other since 2011, I believe, 2012. We both shared the same coach back in the day, and that's how we met, and then have been hanging out at regional events and national conferences for the last few years as well, and sharing a lot of challenges and frustrations and wins and all the things. So I'm excited to jump in here. Kerry, give us a little background and how you got into this and where you're at now.
Yeah, well, thanks. And yeah, it's been great getting to know you. Our coach said you two need to know each other. So she was great. And I've been able to send people up to Dave's office before and had them shadow, and just wonderful education for our people. So I have been in real estate, gosh, since 1994. So longer than most people have been alive on this podcast. And so I started when I was 4. No, I'm just kidding. I did start in my early 20s, and I got into real estate because I graduated college with I never quite graduated, but I have a finance and real estate degree, and my mother told me I was a salesperson and I needed to go do something in sales. And she thought I could make more money than if I just got a salaried job. So that's what I did. So I got into real estate in 1994, and I continued to try and build a team. My first year, for those people, when I got in real estate, first of all, they told me not to get in real estate. I was a single mom and I'd never make it. So nobody would hire me. That was fun. And I finally found a company to hire me. And then I didn't sell a house for my first 6 months. And
How'd
I
you
went
survive?
I went back to college. I went to college and picked up 12 hours of college, and I was a single mom. So I got a grant, scholarships and grants. And that's how I survived. So you do what you got to do. And then after the 6 months, I started in June. I sold my first house in December. And then the next year I did 2.4 million. And then the next year I did 4.8. And then the next year I did 9 million. And I kept going till I hit about 10 million, 11 million. And that was all I could do on my own. So and then I stayed at that ceiling until I came over to Keller
You
Williams.
told all those people who told you couldn't do it to shut up.
You know, what's funny is I ran into the lady that refused to hire me because she didn't have an office space for me. And she goes, "You were my biggest mistake." I'm like, "Yeah, I would guess so." So
And it was another female that said no.
it was another female. So for those of y'all who don't know me, I am a real estate agent in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we service Central Arkansas. I have built a team. I've been up as high as 10 agents, not 10 agents, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 agents on the team and 3 admin. And we've scaled back. We're in the process of rebuilding. I am also the operating principal here at Keller Williams in Central Arkansas. And we have now 5 different branches open: Jonesboro, Hot Springs, Benton, Saline County, Benton, Hot Springs, and then Conway.
How many agents total with all the branches?
110.
Good for you.
Yeah. So we're in Gary's top 100 masterminds for the OP side for the market center. So kind of got that thing up and going. Now it's time to refocus on the team.
Okay. So you built the team and you're running overseeing the market center. And so what's the current structure of the team?
Right now, there is Danielle and myself are doing the sales side, and I've gone back into listings. I'm pretty listing heavy in this market. I still really don't work with buyers. She still works with the majority of buyers. And then I have a full-time director of operations, Angie, and then I have a full-time virtual assistant.
And
Yeah.
so you're getting back into listings. Were you out of production at one point?
Yeah, when I was full-time OPing and TLing, team leadering, we went from, there was myself, 1, 2, 3, 4 really solid agents. So I pretty much would refer out any of my listings or any of my buyers to the people on my team, and they would take care of it. And that was during COVID times when the market was nuts. And what happens when there's a shift in the market, it exposes your weaknesses in your models. So what we found is our lead generation modeling was built so much on referrals and so much on past clients. And then what happened in 2000 and was it 23, the fall of 23, it went. And so then all of a sudden the leads dried up.
So what'd you
So
do?
then it was back. Well, I went back to drilling the phones, which is what I know to do. And just some of the agents on my team were just really used to being handed leads, and they weren't used to having to hunt anymore. They were just used to being given leads. So that's when we kind of broke up and started over. And we pared back down to where we went down to Angie, myself, the virtual assistant, and Danielle, and just decided to rebuild. So that's what we're in the process of doing. We have one girl starting in June. We have another girl starting. I think hopefully she'll join us in June also. So we're going to start over and rebuild it the right way.
Love it. I appreciate the transparency. So are you, when you hit that roadblock and you didn't have business coming in because it was all hung up, it was based on database and the leads weren't coming in, the referrals weren't coming in, besides you getting back on the phones, have you already started doing anything differently? Are you getting other lead sources or anything like that that's helping you generate your business right now?
Yes and yes. So we went on a mission with our coach. We have a MAPS coach that we work with now she kept saying we need to find a lever that we can control with finances. So we need a lever we can jump on that will, when you bring in buyer's agents, most buyer's agents aren't real happy to sit on the phone and pound the phone all day. That's not usually their MO. They want to go meet people. They want to go show property. They don't want to go just pound the phones to find business. So providing leads is one of the biggest things. I went to a really good meeting at Family Reunion, and they talked about the breakout of leads. They said if you're on a team, you should be supplying 60 to 70% of the leads for the buyer's agents, and they should be self-driving about 30 to 40% through open houses or through Spear or through expired FSBOs.
Okay. So then are the buyer's agents that you've had in the past, do you see them generating 30 to 40% of the business? Or
I would say when we were rocking and rolling, they were maybe doing 10 or 20, maybe. We provided so many leads I've been in the business forever. So I have about a 1,200 person database. And out of that, 600 to 700 are past clients that we are actively in conversation with. And, when everybody's sitting there with the 3% interest rate, as you know, people weren't moving. They were waiting. So the people that moved were the people that had to move.
How do you grow the database, really? Because that's ultimately what needs to happen, right? I mean, if it slows down, you just need to talk to more people, right? But if we didn't have enough people in the database, how are you going out and finding them? Are you doing anything different in that space as far as events or some sort of marketing to attract more people into the database?
Well, we continue. We have one big event a year. We have our Travelers baseball game, and we had almost 300 people signed up. We just had it in the first Thursday in May. And we had 290 something signed up. We gave out 175 adult tickets, and then we probably had another 50 kids show up. So we did have a great turnout for that. It's always a great event. We have a smart plan. We send out a postcard, then we start sending out text messages and emails with registrations via Google link. We do a video, and then we call. We actually go through the old time thing of calling them, leaving a voicemail, and then sending a text message.
Yeah. And how far in advance are you doing that for that event? So when was the event, and when did you start doing the promotion for it?
We start doing it about 60 days ahead of time. We send the postcard with the save the date, and truthfully, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not involved in that. I just approve the money. I'm going to say we start at 60 days ahead of time. We definitely start phone calls 45 days out. And we called all the way up to the week of the event.
All 1,200 people in the database getting that postcard and then getting calls, text, emails. So you're inviting all 1,200 people to this event. And how many people did you have at it again?
We had approximately 300 RSVP. And that includes when children come under 8, they don't need a ticket. So they register them, but they don't show up. So we had 175 adults show up, and we probably had 50 kids.
That's awesome. So how long have you been doing this event?
God, I didn't realize it, but I think we've been doing it 6 years now.
What was it like the first year?
We had 50 people.
That's still pretty good for the first year. Okay.
Yeah. And what we found is if we don't do the phone calls and we don't do the text messages, that we don't get the response. They're not looking at the personal invite's what they want. So that's just huge to make that personal invite. And it's a voicemail, then it's a text message, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah. And I asked what it looked like 6 years ago, because if somebody's thinking about doing this and then they're like, well, I didn't get, 300, 200 people there. Who cares, right? You got 50, and the consistency of you doing it every year has grown into this. Now, are you guys able to track referrals from this or any sort of business from it? Do you know generally, like say this year, how much business were you able to generate or even
Well, I
potential?
know just right now off the top of my head from people that grabbed me, I had 4 people come up saying, I want to buy my home. I want to buy this home. I want to buy a home. So I had 4 people gathering me and quartering me. And that was just for me. That didn't include Danielle and Angie. So I'm going to say we had at least 10 viable leads that were not Mickey Mouse or anything like that.
Well, it's hard to be Mickey Mouse when they're live and in person, right?
I know.
It's not an
Hey, they
internet
can
lead.
try. That's so true. So what we did is we do our team event. We do 2 big team events a year. We do a pie giveaway, and our pie giveaway is tied in with a coat drive for the Salvation Army. And we do a warm clothes coat drive, and then the pie giveaway at Thanksgiving. And we usually have at least 150 pies we give away. So it's also a real successful event.
How many years, rather, have you been doing that one?
This is going to be our 3rd year. The first year I think we gave away 40, and then it went up. Now we've been over 100 for years.
So you work in the database really well. Obviously, that's where a majority of the business is coming from. I love the events. I think those are great. What else now are you adding into your business to start attracting more?
Funny you should ask that. So I was sharing with Dave before you guys got on at Family Reunion. I went to a really great class, and it was all about guaranteed offers. It was how do I scale and how do I pull a lever to get leads that are listing leads that are viable, real listing leads. So we created a guaranteed offer program. So this is our 1-pager. And so we have partnered up with Fellow and Viral. And so far, we are only doing it to our database. I have had just in the past, today I've got 2 set appointments for people that want me to come give them a cash offer on their home.
Okay, so that's awesome. So when did you start this?
We've been soft rolling it out for about 2 weeks.
Okay, and so today you get 2 people that call and say, I want a cash offer on my house that's in your database. So they're probably a past client of some sort?
They're a past client.
Okay.
Yep.
So then what happens next? Are
Well,
you buying the house? Did you win the lottery?
No, I have a nice group of investors that I have ties to, and then I also have a line of credit. I've got a great banking relationship with the local bank. And whenever we go in to do a guaranteed sale for us, what we do here for our team is the cash offer is basically 60% of appraised value minus expenses. So it is a low offer and it's a 2-week close, but it's 60%.
It appraises at 100. You're offering 60,000 minus expenses. So then it costs me there 20 to fix it up. So I'm offering you 40 grand.
That's right.
Okay.
40
I
grand.
want to make sure we got the math right. All right. Okay.
Yep. And then that's our cash offer, which is a 2-week close. And then we also have another option for that, which is a 90-day listing period and then a guaranteed sale at the end of that. And the 90-day period, our attorney drew this one up, and it's homes under $500,000 for our market here. But we put it on the market for 90 days. It's directed at our price, and then we've got a written schedule of price reductions every 2 weeks. And then at the end of the 90 days, if it has not sold, then we do a 75% of appraisal value purchase, minus expenses and minus commissions. So it's probably a net 65 to 70% offer.
So a couple questions on that one. A, who's paying for the appraisal? B, what happens? You're paying for the appraisal. Okay.
Yeah, I want it to be my appraiser.
Okay. And then what happens if I don't follow the built-in price reductions if it's sitting? Does it
Then we cancel it.
negate the program? Okay.
Yep, it negates it.
Interesting.
And then our other 3rd program we're rolling out is we will sell your home for free if we can't sell it in 90 days, and we'll have a $500 professional fee on the back of it, and then they'll only pay the buyer's agent commission.
Now, in that case, is there a discussion around what the price has to be in order for that to work? Because I'm going to be like, cool,
Yep,
I'm
it's
selling my
written-
house for $1 million, and you're like, this is actually only like 600, but I don't care. How's that work?
Yeah. It's written in that it's our price. We agree on the price at the beginning, and then we have a scheduled write down, again, every 2 weeks at our discretion.
And so you just rolled this out 2 weeks ago. You've got 2 listing appointments set so far. Are you anticipating lots of calls from this that'll actually participate in the programs, or are you anticipating this is more of a piques my interest, I'm interested, and I get in the door and it turns out, well, I don't want to do that, but you find out their motivation and they got to sell, right? It's a Lead gen
And
cool.
it's lead gen cool. It's my lever. So I'm just doing that to my database. My next step is rolling it out to 10,000 people in a zip code at a cost of about $2,500 a month, which they're telling me should yield me 100 leads a month.
Okay. This is exciting. So how do you handle that? I mean, 100 leads in a month. Are you ready to rock and roll here?
That's why I'm hiring more people.
Okay.
That's why we're working on our training schedule and hiring more people. That's why we soft rolled it out to our database.
Okay. And so you're dropping this to 10,000 people. And did you say, is it a mailer? How are they getting notified?
The letter.
Okay. So like a handwritten letter or like a postcard?
Yeah, we hire a third party to do it. It's not a postcard, it's a handwritten note, I believe, is what they said, and it's a specific written letter.
Okay. And so then that goes out to 10,000 households, a letter. And then from that, we expect 100 people to
Leads.
inquire on some level, right? And
Right.
out of 100 people, do we know how many legit appointments you'll get to go on? Because, I mean, there'll be people that'll call or fish around, but won't turn into anything, right? So,
We expect 10%, so we expect to hit 10 appointments a month off that.
great. Well, that's a game
And out of
changer.
that, if we close, yeah, so if you close 2 deals a month out of that, or if you get 2 viable listings or 4, you're paying for it easily. So now it's just getting the people trained up around me so that we're ready for the phone calls. That's why we've only done it to our database to start with.
So what does that training look like? What do I need to know? Again, because if I'm out here as an agent and I'm looking for another lead source and I've got a team and
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure this out, and we all know the market's dropped a little bit in sales over the last few years, right? It went from 6 million in 2021 down to around 4
Yeah.
million. 4 million last year. So, yeah, we're all looking for ways to generate business. So then if I decide to jump on something like this, what's my training that I need in your
You
mind, or
know,
what are they teaching you already that you might need to know?
Well, I think the one thing you've got to do is check with your local real estate commission and make sure that the way you're advertising it and what you're doing is in compliance with how they feel you need to be, what am I trying to say? Not updating it, but selling it and marketing it. You want to make sure you're putting the right public information out there. And I have to tell you, for years, I really fought this and thought it doesn't feel good. It feels sleazy. It feels this.
Gimmicky,
I mean,
slimy. Yeah.
yeah, I really fought that. And when I sat through that training with Tim Heil and Sarah Reynolds and Via, I'm like, these are the top agents in Keller Williams. They're doing thousands upon thousands of deals. And I think we've got a perception, if we just came back from mega leadership about this guy was blind and he talks about perception. And it's so important that your perception's right. There are people out there that may be too embarrassed to list their home and they may be in a financial crunch. There's people out there, I had one of my past clients call me that said, if we can get this much money out of our house, we want to walk away from it and we can get this much extra, you can have it. We don't want to go through the headache of listing it. So, you've got to make sure your fiduciary duty, I'm the principal broker here too. So you got to make sure your fiduciary duty is being met. And so we're creating a disclosure with our attorney that has the 3 options of what they can do. Another option I want to look at that we're not doing yet is I want to look at how do I help go in and help them update their home to get more money, And we do that. We just don't have it. We'll go in and put in floors. We'll go in and paint. We'll go in and help clients, and charge a little bit of a different commission or get a recapture on the back of it.
You're managing that. You're paying for that. So if I need to get my house painted, I need new carpet. You're going to pay to get the new carpet or the old carpet torn out, new carpet torn in, repainting the house.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Are you charging a markup for that, or are you just going, I'm charging, I don't need to know numbers, but X% extra at the closing table, or is it just an added fee?
It just depends how much it is. We have one that we're closing that was a 2-year project because they pulled it off the market. It wouldn't sell, but we got an extra 1.5% in commission.
So you did the work and then it didn't sell for a while, or it was on, it didn't sell, then you did the work and it sold?
No, it was on and it didn't sell. It was right when the market was doing that. And so it was back in 2023. And we stayed in touch with them. They signed a note to us saying they owed us this money. And then they called us and said, we're ready to sell. So we put it on the market and we're closing next week.
See, that's where that
So
one's risky, right? You got that money
it's
out,
risky,
and in this scenario, it didn't sell. And so now
and it
you're
may
out
not
that
come
money, and
back.
you're going to hope that they come back around, which in your case they did, but not everybody
Yeah.
will, right?
Well, and that's where you've got something in there that protects you, where you've got they're guaranteeing to pay you back. But you're right, it wasn't as tight as it should be. And the other thing would have been to keep an open listing contract with them with a hefty, hefty cancellation fee for the amount they owed you.
Yeah, those are good tips.
And then you could pull it off market.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree. I think there's something to that idea. I've heard that idea off and on over the last few years. But there's also that risk tolerance of like, you're putting your money into someone else's house,
That's
and
right.
making sure you're going to
That
get
is.
it back and all the things. But, what you're doing is what Gary Keller always talks about, right? The MOFR, make offer for instant response. And that's what these things are. And I'm excited to see how they generate business for you.
Well, and I'll tell you, since we're working with Fellow, we moved a lot of our database for their their evaluation tool, and they have a cash offer button. So since we put things in there, I'm going to say, just to our database, we've had 30 to 40 people click on the button at least for curiosity of what it looks like. So
When I
it's
click on the
a
button, what does it tell me? Just how the program works?
no, it notifies me to call you.
Okay.
So basically it's you raising your hand saying, I want more information.
Yeah.
So it's another touch point, but it's also getting deeper into our database with people that we may not have talked to in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and another interesting layer to this is if you work your database and find people who want to invest in real estate,
That's right.
and then you also are working your database to find people who need cash offers, right? You could connect some people here internally. You got somebody
That's
that
right.
wants to buy and flip something. You find something that needs work and they need to get out, and maybe you're not buying it, but you're putting it all together.
That's
And
right.
you're working the whole thing, and you've put it all together, and that's impressive. So, and it's
Well,
just
and I'm
another
not there
opportunity,
yet.
another layer to touch your database.
That's right. And again, what I've been looking for is a solid lead generation model that works in any market that is not dependent on 100-to-1 conversion ratio with a Zillow with a buyer lead of $60,000 or 100,000. I was looking for a lead generation model that is sustainable and scalable to teach. So for me, the next training, the question you asked before was training. It's working with the buyer's agents we have coming in. Most buyer's agent, when you bring them in, turn into a buyer's agent and taking them to the listing side, making them masters of the listing side, script and role play presentation, script and role play presentation. And we're really heavy into Phil Jones. I've been to his classes in New York. We script and role play his stuff every day. And, he's amazing.
Yeah. And he's got a great accent.
Doesn't he, though?
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Okay. So I know that these programs have been out there. So is this something you buy into like a franchise thing, or is this something you knew the ideas and you went to your attorney locally and said, create it for me? If I'm out there and I want to do something like this, how do I get into it? What do I need to do?
Well, I think one thing is, as I talked to the real estate commission, if you promise to buy it, you need to buy it. Don't go in there without the ability to put the money in somebody's hand. So you need to have the established banking relationship with a local banker. I'm lucky enough, local banker is my hometown bank. I can pick up the phone and say, hey, I need X dollars. They know me, trust me, like me, and they're going to give it to me. And they know I know real estate and I'm not going to make a bad investment or lose money. So working that relationship with them, so as you know, it preserves cash and then you leverage, but also getting it where you need it to. I think the first thing you've got to do is make sure you have the ability to fulfill what you're advertising. And that's either a group of investors in your market center, it's a group of investors in your database, and it's putting that group together.
So
And
again,
that's where I think you
my
start.
immediate thought goes, well, how do I know how much is enough? Like I'm a high optimist. So I'm immediately, when
Yeah,
we get a ton of leads, then I'm going to need like millions of dollars to buy these houses. I mean, the reality
I
is it's
know.
probably not true, but how do I know what is enough to have prepared to make the offers?
Well, and I guess if I come to you and I call you and I say, Dave, I've got a deal where I'm buying at 50% off market value. Are you in? What are you going to say to me?
Yeah. Show me the numbers, but I'm probably in.
Exactly. So that's what you've got to have. And I think we operate out of fear because that's what held me back for so long is I didn't want to look sketchy. I didn't want to look like I was trying to scam anybody. But the flip side is there are people out there that need help. and they are afraid to list their home. They don't know what to do, and they're stuck. And the meeting we were just at this week at leadership meeting said that that homeowners with mortgages right now have 47% equity in their homes is the average equity in a homeowner's home right now. That's why we don't have foreclosures going up.
And you're helping them unlock that.
Yeah, and not giving them options, not just doing the, I don't want to say the sleazy, short sale, not short sale, wholesaler menu. I don't mean that in the wrong way. There are good ones out there, but it's going down the path of helping your client get what they want. And, we're all stuck in getting them the highest price, getting the house done. I've got a client right now that I'm working on the deal, this cash deal for her. My contractors just went over there. It's her brother's house. He passed away. She can't clean it out. She can't do the work. They don't have the money. They just need it sold so that the daughter can get X, Y, and Z.
It's a guy that likes to rehab houses. You're speaking my language. Like this is.
I know. I see you poking up over there.
Tell me more. Yeah.
I know.
I'm making my own notes.
Well, and it'll be interesting, but I'm going to say, just the fact that we've had 30 people it's been approximately 30 people just in my database open it and look at it, tells you there's an appetite for it. And the other thing I think that I have been in business since 1994. I've got a very well-known name. Keller Williams is a great franchise. When you marry the two of them together, there's a lot of validity with what we're doing.
Yeah. Which then it's the trust that you need to walk in the door, and somebody's confident that when you make that offer, you're going to close.
Yeah. And you're not going to send them. You may say, listen, let me help you put money into this, and we're going to do the 90-day sale.
Now, given the market that I think we're starting to see, and I don't know about in Little Rock, but I feel like in St. Louis where we're at, right, it's a little becoming more pocketed. We're seeing areas that are popping and going crazy and bidding wars are happening, and other areas are putting listings on, and it's just chirp, nothing's happening. As that, whereas 2020, 21, 22, like you could put anything out there and everything sold, multiple offers. It was like a conveyor belt of houses just rolling off. Now going into this where it's, hit or miss, I guess I would say, you're looking at maybe buying more houses that you may then end up with, or the 90-day, hey, I'm listing this and I can't sell them. Like it becomes a little more risky, right? If I'm, listening to this going, well, the market's kind of tough. Like this is an interesting time to be offering that. Would you agree or no?
Well, yes, except I feel like I'm a pretty good student of the market, just like you. And a lot of people, if you're open-minded to look at this and, if like we're pocketed too. So you need to either have a longer time span or a quicker write down, one of the two. And I think for us, we're seeing older homes that are those move-up homes, like the 3,200 square foot homes that were built in the 60s in the middle of town are sitting like logs. So they've got to be more aggressively written down. So you tie it to the NAR, if you don't have, any showings in 2 weeks, you're 10% overpriced. Drop it 10.
Yeah, 10 days no showings, in 2 weeks no, or something like that. I'm blanking.
Yeah, no offers.
Yes.
Yep, write it down 10%. 3 to 5% if you have 8 to 10 showings and no offers. And then if you're sitting there for longer than that and you've had no showings, then you go down 10%. But what we do know is the market isn't crashing. It's pockety, but it isn't crashing.
And I don't disagree with what you're doing. I'm just asking because if I'm out here listening to this and I'm going, man, that seems risky, what you're thinking behind doing this. And I agree with you. And I also think in a market shift or as things are semi-correcting, whatever's happening, I don't feel like we ever really know anymore as far as exactly which direction it's going. It's an opportunity to take market share,
Well,
and that's what's important.
It's mind share. And the other thing is, what I do know is our market hasn't corrected 40%. I do know that we haven't had a 40% reduction in pricing. So I feel like anything that does that the opportunities I have in front of me, if I have 100 people, I might find 1 out of 200 to 300 people that want a cash offer. Majority are want to go on the market and they're going to want to do the write downs or they're going to want the free commission.
Or none of it, they just need to sell, and that's ultimately what you do too. And again, the whole point of this conversation today is really around how you're generating leads, and how you've shifted some of how your business was, right? Because you were all in on the database, which I still think you are and should stay there.
Yep.
But then instead of just having that as the lone soldier generating business for you, you've got another layer now with these offer programs. And I think it's an exciting thing to see how it turns out. So, and then now that you're putting that in place and you're doing the training, how are you promoting that to attract agents to your team, or are you promoting it to client, or what's the goal there? Because there's kind of two parts, right? I could be promoting it to clients to get business listings from it, but at the same time, if I'm offering, hey, this is what we're doing to generate leads, if I'm an agent, I'm going, oh, well, that's interesting. How do I come over there?
Well, and I think the next steps, the next layers, is we have a girl coming in, we know for sure in June that I've already secured. I think she'll be great. She fits our avatar for recruiting, if you would. We've got a second one coming in. What it may be is I've got 2 or 3 of us that are really strong on the listing side. And what that means is we're not afraid to have a hard conversation, but we're also willing to learn and educate ourselves on the numbers of the market. And no homes will be bought without my signature and my contractors looking at them, of course. But that's how I protect myself. But the next step is to recruit to that. You want to become a listing specialist. You want to learn the best on how to list. Join our team.
So let's dive into that. So you got to find people. How are you finding them? How are you determining they're a good fit for your team? You said you had an avatar. What does that look like? As people who are trying to build teams out there, and the goal of this podcast is to help agents do that and educate them on it. What do they need to know? How do they figure this out without just adding people in and hoping it's going to work?
Well, hope works for a little while. I've tried that. You want to know something to fail, just call me. I've probably done it and tried it. So the one thing I am not afraid of is to try and screw up. So I'm really good at that. So for us, the avatar that our coach has really pushed us to is I work out a lot. I work out 5 days a week. I'm a huge golfer. I'm very competitive. People that aren't into healthy lifestyles, eating healthy, aren't attracted to kind of our lifestyle around what we do, don't really fit on our team that well. And so we have an avatar of probably female, maybe a male, but more than likely female is our goal, between 20 and 40, 25 to 40. I want them to be athletic. I want them to be doing exercise classes. I want them to care about their weight, and I want them to care about their health. I want them to be competitive. I really want them to have been in a competitive sport in high school or college and have that competitive fire in them. And the other thing we did is we pulled down, we had through the team leader, through Broker Metrics, we pulled all the agents that had done 1 deal to 6 deals in the last year. And we pulled down 400 names. And then we started going through Facebook, seeing if they were our avatar or not, and then calling and inviting them to coffee.
And of those 400, how many have you met with or talked to so far?
Actually, we're blessed that the team leader's done it. And the team leader and the assistant team leader for our office have done that. We gave them the avatar and what our target was. And they are going through that list. I think they've had 8 appointments, and they have told Angie there's 2 that might be a viable one for us. And they've called through about 100 of the 400 names.
And these are people that are not in your market center. They're just in Little Rock.
MLS.
Right, in your
In
MLS.
board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so it benefits them because they could be bringing them into the market center, and maybe they're bringing them in and putting them on your team, so it could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or at least it helps them. So that's a really cool way to go about this. I love the leveraging that you did there and having them do it. Smart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's where we are. Check with me in 6 months. I may be going, yeah, that didn't work. Yeah, that didn't work. But you know what? By God, I'm going to keep trying. I'm too stupid to quit.
Yeah, but I think that's where you learn, right? I mean, when you fail, Gary says that all the time, and failing forward, and that's what helps you make it better. And now you're making a new iteration of it, and here you go.
Well, and as Phil Jones says, what did you like best about it, and what are you going to do next time? So what are your LBs and your NTs? So I'll figure it out. What do I like best about having the office call those people? It saves me a heck of a lot of time. What am I going to do next time? I'm probably going to expand the search. I did it in just agents that are housed in Little Rock. I may stretch that out a little bit. My experience is for what we want you in the office on a daily basis. We want you in here with us talking to people. So we really want somebody in the Little Rock market.
Now, what about somebody that's not even in the business yet but wants to get their license? Are you guys looking at bringing in new people?
Yep. I actually sometimes prefer new people because they don't have the bad habits that some of the I don't want them in the business for more than 2 years either.
1 to 6 units, less than 2 years in the business.
Yep. And I was able to filter that by their license number or their MLS
Why
number.
less than 2 years and why under 6? What have you found that fits your avatar?
When I went to family reunion, I went to a recruiting seminar, which was awesome, that Via put on and a group of those same people put on that did the time machine. And they had a graph that showed the likelihood of people to move in the 0 to 2 years. Once they've been there for 2 years, the likelihood goes way down.
Interesting.
So I'm just going after the numbers.
So I join a place, and within my first 2 years of being there, that's what I'm targeting to get them. Because if I can get them to move, I can. But after that, once it's 3 or 4 years, they're probably going to stick around for a while unless they've hit some other massive ceiling or pain point.
Yeah, unless they've hit X number of volume and they're not growing anymore.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
Yeah. So that's where I came up with those. I was going to show you. I thought I had they're not. My desk looks crazy. I thought I had their graphs because I printed their graphs off. And yeah, here it is. I'll show it to you. You can't really read it well, but it talks about risk, risk of moving agents and how long they've been at a company. And then it also has one switching by production.
Okay.
So just taking those two and layering them.
I love it. You've done the research. You've done the homework. You know what you're looking for. And then it's just now going out and attracting them. And I think you've created a value proposition to attract them to your team, right? So all things that are important when trying to roll this out. That's exciting. I think we need to do a follow-up, like you said, in 6 months and see, okay, what's worked? What would you do differently?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be glad to. You got my number.
Perfect. So before we conclude, one thing I always love to ask our guests is what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you during your real estate career? Whether it's like on a showing, on a listing appointment, recruiting appointment, running the office, I don't know. I feel like everyone always has something funny that's happened that they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
I think probably the thing that sticks out most in my mind, and I apologize if this gets a little off color, I walked into a house, again, I've done this going on 32 years now. God, 32 years in June. I walked into a house with some clients to show a house. We knocked on the door. This was before you had, the text messages and the cell phones and all that. So we walked in, knocked on the door, walked in, rang the doorbell. Doorbell wasn't working. We go traipsing in. We go down the hallway. There's 2 people in the shower together.
Did they see you? Did you run out or did you just keep showing the house?
I'm like, oh my God, I mean, there's one other time, but it's too off color to talk about. So there's one other one that just sticks in my head besides that one. That one's very ingrained in my head. It's like,
did your buyers buy the house?
No, we left pretty quick.
That's funny. Did you have to call the agent and apologize or did you just pretend like it never happened?
You know what? The agent could call us. We were done. we were a little traumatized. Yeah. So we were out there. We're like, oh my God, So from then on, it's knock, knock, hello, knock, knock.
It's a great lesson.
Creep down the hallway. Do you hear the shower running? There's a sign there. Could be people in it doing things that adults do,
Awesome. Well, okay. So for all of our listeners, if they want to reach Kerry in Little Rock, they got a referral. They just want to catch up with you. They want to learn more about these programs that you're doing. How can people find you? How do they get a hold of you?
You can look us up on Facebook, the Ellison Group on Facebook, or look at Kerry Ellison, as it's spelled, KerryEllison, and ding us on Facebook, or 501-725-1227. 501-725-1227. That's our team number.
Great. And we will make sure to put that in the show notes as well, so it'll pop up on there so people can find it. Any last minute parting words of advice you want to share before we end today?
I think don't be afraid. You can't operate a business in fear. And I think so many people operate in fear that if you don't go screw it up, you're never going to get any better. You got to live in the uncomfortable and the chaos.
I think you just came full circle because you were talking about in the beginning how you're like, I fail at everything if you want to. And here you are.
That's right. There's my full circle. I'm still going in the circle, though. I keep going around and around like a hamster.
Awesome. Well, Kerry, we love having you on today and appreciate you being here and sharing all this amazing stuff. For all of our listeners out there, appreciate you guys watching and stay tuned for another episode of Realty Resilience coming soon. Thanks. Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks. Bye-bye.